Hey guys, what's up? It's Shay. Welcome to my channel. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you've watched my videos before, welcome back. But I am super excited because I thought it would be fun to talk about my experience working with Disney. I know there are a lot of cast members out there, and there's a lot of cast members that I have worked with that I know, that I love, that personally had bad experiences with Disney. But I thought it would be fun to kind of talk about my experience because my experience wasn't the same as everyone else's, and no one's experience is the same. But I thought that it would just be fun to do that. Alrighty, so first off, I want to say that my experience with Disney was absolutely amazing. My time with Disney was when I did my Disney college program. I met so many amazing people, but I had the greatest time. I learned so much, and honestly, it made me want to come back to Disney. I'll take you back to like the application process. So originally, I honestly didn't think I was actually gonna apply for the college program because I had applied for it the year before and I didn't get it. But I didn't really know a lot about it at that time, so I was just kind of like, it's fine, whatever. So I said it was fine, I let it go, and then the next year, one of my coworkers told me that she was applying for it and told me that I should apply for it too, and see like if I get it. So I was like, you know what, screw it, whatever. I think I applied for it before. I honestly had forgot at that time that I applied for it. But I applied for it and I was like right at the deadline of when applications were gonna close. I applied for it and immediately I heard back saying that like I got the web-based interview. And so I was like, okay, I really don't want to mess this up because like I think it'd be really fun to go work for Disney. So I do the web-based interview and then they tell me that I got the phone interview, and so now I need to schedule what time I'm gonna do it. I scheduled my phone interview and I did it right before I was gonna go to class, because I was still in college at the time, and I was like, if I do it in the morning, then I don't have to worry about it, and then like I can go about my day and like call it good. I do the phone interview, and honestly, I feel like I blacked out that entire time because I was trying so hard to say the right things and to like do the right things. So honestly, I don't really remember a lot of my phone interview, to be honest. But I get done with the phone interview and then I don't hear back from Disney for maybe like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks maybe. This was the day that literally changed my life. Like it literally changed me as a person. It changed like my outlook on life essentially. So I worked in my college bookstore, like where you buy your textbooks, you can buy like school apparel, everything like that. So I was working there. I had the morning shift, and so I was getting off work, getting ready to go to class, and I go to the back and I like grab my backpack and I grab my phone. I see there's like an email from Disney, but it didn't say anything. It just said Disney. Like it was just like, hey, this is Disney. And so I open it up. All I saw was congratulations, and I literally ran. I ran to the front of the store and I looked at my coworkers and I was like, guys, I got the internship. I got into Disney. Like I did it. And they all kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? I remember calling my mom like immediately after I got the email and I was like, I got accepted into the Disney college program, and she's like, do you want to do it? I was like, yeah. And she's like, okay, pay the fees. And I was like, I'm going to Florida for 6 months. Okay, I guess this is happening. It was so much fun. And so I actually found out my role like a couple days after I got the acceptance letter and like I paid all my fees and everything. I was going into lifeguarding. I had been a lifeguard before. I knew the whole spiel. I knew what to do. So like for me, I was like, this is fine. It'll be a breeze, like whatever. I packed my bags and I flew to Florida. I had 3 suitcases with me. I got an Uber, went to housing. I was the first one into my apartment. I just remember being like, okay, I dropped everything off. Now I have to figure out where the bus is so I can go to Traditions. I'm not gonna lie, Traditions is the most boring class or like introductory thing you'll ever have to do in your life, because it's like 3 hours of you just sitting there and like them telling you everything about Disney, which isn't bad, but like you just like want to go up and like do stuff and like be in the parks and like start your job. Like you're so excited that like your adrenaline's pumping and you have to sit in a class for 3 hours, which is not fun. I go through Traditions, I get back on the bus, I come back, and literally every single one of my roommates was just sitting in the living room. And I remember walking in and it was like, it looked like they were all sitting on the couch just waiting for me. Like it was, like, and just meeting these people, it was so awkward for me. And I know if any of my CP roommates watch this, they're gonna laugh, because I was very awkward at the time. But I remember one of my roommates, her parents were there, and then she had enlisted 2 of our neighbors across the hall to help her move stuff in. So I was meeting people left and right, like on my first day, but I loved it. I was very nervous because I'm a very shy person. I'm very quiet. Like if I don't know you well, I'm really quiet. So you have to like really get to know me and like get me to open up for me to be like this like big person. And so I was like very nervous at first. All I remember was like walking in and thinking, okay, so these 2 are already friends. They've already done a program together. They're already going to go off and do their own thing. And I was like, and knowing my luck, my other 2 roommates are going to become friends, and I'm just going to be all by myself, because that's what always happens. People always group up and then I'm left by myself. That's what it happens. It's fine. I've come to terms with it, but it just happens. I think I just had like a couple days to unpack. That was fine, like whatever, I needed to get settled. And then I had to go and do my Ellis certification, which if you don't know what Ellis is kind of like Red Cross, but it's like Disney's version, or at least like the East Coast version of Red Cross. It's essentially the same thing, but you still have, like, even if you're certified in Red Cross, you still have to be certified in Ellis. So I had to go do my swim test, and I had to do everything that you typically would for lifeguarding certification, as well as CPR, first aid, everything like that. I remember there, like, a couple of, like, a couple of the trainers kept asking, they were like, we're gonna need deep water guards, which, I mean, deep water, it's really not that bad. There aren't many locations that have deep water pools. For the most part, it would either be like the water parks or like a couple of the resorts. There really aren't many resorts that have deep water pools. And for me at the time, I was like, I was a swimmer. I got this. You tell me to swim, I'm a swim. I got you. Don't worry about it. And so I started swimming. I do my thing. Right after I did my swim test, they told me, okay, you're going to be a deep water guard. I was like, okay, cool. And everyone kind of was like, you're going to a water park. And I was like, I don't want a water park. I was hellbent. I did not want a water park. So thankfully for me, I was not put at a water park, but I was put at the Yacht and Beach Club Resort, which is hands down my favorite resort. Not because I work there, but just because it is gorgeous. It's a gorgeous resort. I love the pool. That is the biggest pool on Disney property. It is also a deep water pool because there's a lazy river in it, and part of the lazy river goes down to about 8 feet. So I loved working at that resort. I loved it. I did start to notice, though, a couple weeks into my program that my anxiety started to take over, and I started to dread going to work, and I started to dread being at the resort because it was so stressful for me. Like I said before, I had been a lifeguard before. I knew what to do, but Disney's standards are so high when it comes to lifeguards, and because the standards have to be high, you know, it's Disney. You can't screw it up if someone drowns in a pool, you know what I mean? So it was very nerve-wracking for me. But thankfully, I had amazing leaders. So a couple weeks into my program, I started in January, and like right around like the middle to end of March, I started to talk to my leaders because I was telling them my anxiety is very high. Like, I just don't feel like I'm at my best right now. And like, I'm so scared that like I'm gonna screw something up if something happens, because this is someone's life on the line. Like, that's a lot to handle, and it's a lot to take in. Typically, especially when you do the program, you can't just transfer into a different role. It's not really heard of. There are very few roles that you can just switch out of because you want to. Typically, lifeguarding and quick service are like the only two roles that you can get transferred out of. They want you to be the best of the best if you're a lifeguard. They want you to like be able to do the job and be able to handle it. And then with quick service, you also, like, if you're allergic to something that they're cooking in that kitchen or that they are serving, and you obviously can't be around there, they're not going to keep you there and like force you to work there. Like, they'll do their best to move you. But I remember being told when I got pulled into one of my leader's offices, he said that I had maybe 2 roles that I could look into going into. And if neither of them took me, then I would be termed. So I was very nervous because I didn't want to go home. I was loving being in Florida. I loved it. So he asked me which one I wanted, and it was either parking or quick service. So I told him, I was like, put me in quick service. So he goes through the process, a couple days go by, and then he tells me, okay, so they don't have a spot immediately, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna put you in Cape May Cafe. You're gonna help with them for a few days, and then you're gonna transfer over, do all your trainings, everything like that. So I got my costume for Cape May Cafe, and let me tell you, I loved working at Cape May Cafe. I loved it so much. I don't think I could tell you how much I loved working at Cape May Cafe. Like, I know there are people that are gonna be like, why? Like, why would you like that? Honestly, one, I still got to be around my friends. I was still there. I didn't have to worry about it. I was still going to the same location, but I had an amazing costume. And let me tell you, most of these costumes are not cute. Let me just say, Disney costumes are not flattering. They're not cute or like anything. But like, I got this like big, like flowy skirt and like this like cute little apron, and like I could still like secretly keep my phone with me because I had pockets. Like, I got to wear like shorts and like comfy clothes underneath my skirt because no one was gonna see it. So like, I was loving it. And really all I did was I stood at the door and I seated people. That's all I was doing. So I loved it so much. It was so relaxed. It was so chill. And I loved the people that worked there. They were so sweet. And they were so nice and so willing to help me learn and catch on, even though like they knew I wasn't gonna be there, but like for a couple days. So like, it was amazing for them to have them because they were super nice. Like, hands down, I loved them to death. So I get my transfer and I go in. I find out that I'm gonna be in Magic Kingdom, which is a complete 180 from working in Cape May Cafe. So I was gonna be in Frontierland, which, let me tell you, those costumes are not comfortable at all. But I remember showing up for my first day, not knowing where to go. I had never been in the tunnels. I had never been like anywhere backstage in Magic Kingdom. So I had no idea what I was doing. And I remember I had a friend who worked strollers in Magic Kingdom. And so he was telling me where to go, what to do, like where everything was at. And I was so thankful for him, because if I had not met him, I don't know what I would have done, because I had no idea where to go. I show up and I remember sitting down. I was in what was called my breaker. So it's like the costume that I could wear when I forget my actual costume. And it was like the costume that I could wear in Frontierland and in Adventureland. I sit down and there's a girl sitting next to me that has the same breaker on. So I was like, okay, I feel like we're gonna be training together. And so our trainer comes up and she pulls us in and we just go at it. So she starts training us, and I just remember being so nervous because it was literally like my first day, like going to traditions and everything like that. It was like that all over again. So I was very nervous. So we went through our trainings, we went through everything. So like where I was located at was called Stands West in Frontierland. So that was like the Churro Cart, Westward Ho, Golden Oak Outpost, and Tortuga Tavern. And usually sometimes if they would need you in Pecos, then you would work in Pecos. I never personally worked in Pecos, thank you God, because that place is a nightmare when you are a cast member. I loved my location, so like I would rotate throughout them. It was very hectic, I'm not gonna lie, because it is quick service. Like you're trying to get things out, you're trying to like call the kitchen for more food, you're like trying to throw out like the food that's gone bad. Like it's a lot, like there's a lot you have to do, but honestly, I loved it. It was so much fun. I think my favorite place working at in Frontierland was Westward Ho. Just you and one other person, and if you're working during the day and you're working during the parade, no one comes to Westward Ho. So you would literally just look out the window and you watch the Festival of Fantasy parade. So it's the greatest thing. I learned a lot because, like I said, I got along with my leaders at Yacht and Beach, but I also got along with my coordinators in Frontierland. If I'm being honest, I really didn't see my leaders a lot when I was in Frontierland. When I was in Yacht and Beach, I would see my leaders multiple times a day. We had like morning meetings before like our shift would start. So we only had like 2 shifts that would come in at Yacht and Beach. So we had the morning and the afternoon. So those are like the openers and the closers. And we would have like meetings beforehand for every shift. And so the like opening coordinator and the opening leader would be there, and they'd tell you the spiel and then be like, okay, grab your tubes, go to your stands. And then the same thing for the closing shifts. It would be the closing leader and the closing coordinator. They'd show up, tell you the spiel, and then tell you, okay, go rotate off whoever's on stand. When I was in Frontierland, that was not the case. You would show up, you would clock in, it would print off your tag where you would go, and it would tell you send so-and-so here or send so-and-so on a break. I would see my coordinators more than I would see my leaders. Like half the time if I went to my location, there would easily be a coordinator there every time I'd show up. Which I liked. I liked my coordinators. They were super cool, but I didn't really see my leaders a lot. I would see my leaders if like there was like an accident and like something happened, or like I would see them like when I was coming in for a shift. Some of the other cast members would be like talking to different coordinators and leaders like in the offices. It was very rare that I would see them. Like I would maybe see them like once or twice a week. But again, I loved it. I loved working at Disney. I loved everything that I did. I loved my roles. Like a lot of people don't like working in quick service, and honestly, I wouldn't choose it again if I went to work back for Disney, but I loved it at the time. I really did like it a lot. Once I did my program and I like went back home, a lot of people asked if like I would ever work for Disney again. And even like when I was in school, I remember even like a few of my friends that had gone back to Disney, they asked if I was ever gonna come back. And honestly, 100%. I would go back to Disney in a heartbeat. Me personally, I would love to be able to work in like the corporate offices. That's like my ultimate goal, is like I want to work like not necessarily in the parks, but like I want to work in the offices, which I think would be like, that's like my dream job. But yeah, I would go back to Disney. I would. I was lucky enough to be able to have worked in 4 different locations. So like when I was lifeguarding, I was at Yacht and Beach, and then when I was moving into quick service, I worked at Cape May Cafe, and then I worked in Frontierland and Adventureland, and then I was also deployed once to Be Our Guest, which that was super fun. I honestly loved it. And I know I say that about everything, but I really did love it. I remember they called me. I wasn't supposed to be into work until like 1 or 2 o'clock. And when they called me at like 8:30. And they were like, hey, so just so you know, you're going to be deployed to be our guest today. It's still the same shift, but you're going to be our guest instead. And so for me, I was like, shit. Like, I had never worked at Be Our Guest. So I was like, I don't know where to go. I don't know what to do. I don't know who to talk to. Like, where do I go? I was like, okay, I went back to bed. I got up like an hour later and I was like, okay, I'm going to get ready. I'm going to figure out where to go, what to do, who to talk to, what I'm going to do, everything like that. And so I get up, I get ready, I head to Magic Kingdom, and I go to costuming, and I get my costume, because especially, like, I was like, I want to leave super early, because I don't know what's going to happen, and I don't know, like, how long it's going to take me to find my costume. So I go, and I find my costume, I get my size, everything like that, and let me tell you, I think that was my favorite costume of all time. Like, hands down. I think that was my favorite costume. I was so happy when I put on that costume. Like, I remember getting my costume and I like had my hair in a bun, because my hair was like fairly long at the time. Like, it was maybe a little bit longer than this. And so like I put my hair in like a bun and I had this costume on, and like I was killing it. I loved it. Like, it was like this like white shirt with like a purple vest, and then these like purple pants, and then like long white socks, and then like your black shoes. But wow, I loved that costume. It was amazing. I loved it. When I like worked at Disney, and I would like tell people, like when I went back home and I would tell people about like my time at Disney, they would always ask like what my favorite location was to work at. And I mean, I was only a Be Our Guest for one day, so I really didn't see a lot of like the inner workings and everything like that. So I really can't say like that was my favorite location. But I will say Yacht and Beach was like hands down my favorite location to work at. It was so much fun. I had nasty tan lines on my feet. But it was like, yes, your anxiety was very high, your stress level was very high, but you still, like, it felt more laid back than like if you were in the parks. It was very different. You were honestly by yourself a lot of the time. You weren't really talking to guests a lot, but Yacht and Beach was like my favorite. It was my favorite location just because it was so relaxed and it was so chill. I look back at my time at Disney and it makes me smile every time I think about it. You know what I mean? Like, I had so much fun. Like, I had like some amazing roommates. We didn't really get along with one of them, which ironically was the one that I was sharing the room with. Like, we had our fair share of arguments and like issues, but like we were able to work them out, and we became really good friends. And like, I honestly did not think that would happen, because I have had my fair share of horrible roommate situations, and that was like the first time I had a good roommate situation. Like, that was literally the first time. And so I was very thankful for that. I wouldn't change a thing about my program. I really wouldn't. Yes, it has its downfalls, but I feel like a lot of cast members feel that way, especially if they are CPs. But like I said, I had so much fun. I loved it. Looking back, I mean, yeah, I probably wouldn't have gone back home. I probably still would be working at Disney. But I had so much fun, and I'm glad I went home when I did, because I was able to get my degree, and I was able to like do things like with my life and like make sure that like I have everything that like I would need. But I mean, if I would have accepted my extension and I would have stayed, I probably would still be with Disney to this day. I probably would be. But I think it was the right move for me to go home, get my degree, and then come back. I get to like be around really cool people. I get to learn new things every day. You know what I mean? And I still got the same thing when I was at Disney, but I feel like if I wouldn't have gone home, I wouldn't be where I am today. Like, I wouldn't have the job that I have. I wouldn't be fortunate enough to like still be getting paid through my work. But I honestly would not change a thing with my program. I really wouldn't. I really would not. I loved my time, and honestly, if Disney wants me back, Disney can have me. I'm not gonna lie. I like thoroughly enjoyed my time at Disney. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. And then I also want you to click the big red subscribe button because we are all Disney loving friends here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do hope you guys enjoy it. If there's anything specifically that you want to see from me, please let me know down in the comments below. I would love to be able to do videos that you guys want to see. Yeah, so like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys got some good information about the program and maybe about like what your experience could be like. But yeah, I would honestly highly recommend at least applying for it. Because whether or not you get accepted or denied, at least you can still know whether or not you want to. I know I had a lot of fun during my program. I loved it. I met amazing people that I will never forget in my life. Make sure to follow me on all of my socials so we can stay connected. I tried to post on Instagram and TikTok as much as possible, but you will see all of that in the next slide. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye guys!